Picture the last time it happened. Maybe you tripped in public. Maybe you said the wrong name. Maybe you waved back at someone who wasn't waving at you. Your face went red. Your chest tightened. You wanted, more than anything, to disappear. That feeling has a name, and no other animal on earth has ever felt it. Embarrassment is yours alone, not your dog's, not the crow's, not the chimpanzee's, despite how clever it is. Of the millions of species that have ever lived on this planet, only one developed the capacity to feel a hot flush of shame over something as small as mispronouncing a word in front of strangers. The question worth asking isn't why you feel it. The question is why evolution built it into you in the first place. The answer reaches back much further than you might expect. Your brain is not a single thing. It is a negotiation. Deep beneath the parts that read and plan and speak, there is something older, a structure that was managing survival long before language existed. The amygdala, your threat detection center, does not know the difference between a lion and social rejection. To it, both are dangers. Both trigger the same cascade. Your heart rate climbs. Your skin flushes. Your attention narrows. The body prepares. For most of your evolutionary history, that response was correct. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar spent decades studying the relationship between primate brain size and group size. What he found was that the larger the neocortex of a primate species, the larger the social groups that species lives in. Humans, with the largest neocortex of all, evolved to live in groups of roughly 150 individuals. That number, now called Dunbar's number, isn't arbitrary. It reflects the cognitive ceiling of how many social relationships your brain can genuinely track and maintain. 150 people, all watching each other, all depending on each other, all capable of remembering who did what and when. In a group that size, your reputation was your survival. If you broke a social rule, if you took more than your share, failed to return a favor, laughed when you shouldn't have, spoke when silence was required, the group noticed. And in a world without courts or police or written law, the group's judgment was the only law that mattered. Exile from the group meant death, not metaphorical death, actual death, alone, in a world full of predators and scarce food, and no shelter you could build fast enough on your own. Your ancestors who felt nothing after violating a social norm had no mechanism to repair the breach. They couldn't signal remorse. They couldn't communicate that the violation was unintentional. They kept offending until the group cut them loose, and then they died. Your ancestors who flushed red, who looked down, who made themselves small in the aftermath of a social error, survived. Because that physical display, the averted eyes, the hunched posture, the visible flush, is a signal. It communicates, I know I broke the rule. I am not a threat. I submit to the group's judgment. Research by Dasha Keltner at the University of California, Berkeley, found exactly this. In a series of studies, people who displayed embarrassment after making social errors were rated as more trustworthy, more prosocial, and more likable than people who showed no reaction at all. The blush was not a weakness. It was a peace offering, a biological apology the body makes before the mouth has a chance to speak. So, embarrassment is a social repair mechanism. That much is clear. But it still doesn't explain why only humans have it. Other social animals have dominance hierarchies. They fight for status and submit when they lose. But submission in those animals is reactive. It's a response to immediate physical threat. A wolf flips onto its back when a stronger wolf pins it. That's not embarrassment. That's calculation in real time. There is no flush of shame hours later when the wolf replays the encounter in its mind. You do that. You replay it. At 2 in the morning, suddenly, an interaction from 6 years ago surfaces in full detail, and your face goes red in the dark of your bedroom with no one watching. No other animal does this. And the reason comes down to a cognitive capacity that sits at the center of what makes humans unusual. Theory of mind. Theory of mind is the ability to model what another person is thinking, to hold in your head not just your own perspective, but someone else's, to ask not only what you see, but what they see when they look at you. Developmental psychologists Simon Baron-Cohen and Uta Frith mapped the emergence of theory of mind in human children and found that it typically comes online between the ages of 3 and 5. Before that window, children cannot accurately model another person's beliefs. After it, they can. And with that capacity comes something that didn't exist before: the ability to see yourself through someone else's eyes. That is what embarrassment requires. You are not just reacting to what happened. You are simulating an audience. You are constructing a version of how other people perceived you and then experiencing distress at the gap between that version and the version of yourself you want to project. That is a remarkably sophisticated cognitive act. It requires memory, self-concept, social modeling, and emotional processing all firing at once. Chimpanzees show early signs of self-awareness. They recognize themselves in mirrors. They appear to have some basic form of social sensitivity. But the evidence for genuine theory of mind in non-human primates remains limited and contested. What researchers like Joseph Call at the Max Planck Institute have found is that chimps can track what others know in competitive contexts, where the information directly affects getting food. They do not appear to agonize hours later over whether someone thought less of them for tripping. The recursive self-monitoring that embarrassment demands, the ability to watch yourself being watched, seems to be a distinctly human affliction, and it is, in many ways, an affliction. Because the same system that evolved to repair social bonds can malfunction. It can fire too hard, too often, for things that carry no real social consequence. The modern world is enormous. You interact every day with strangers you will never see again. You perform in front of audiences that have no ability to exile you from anything. But the ancient social machinery doesn't know that. It still operates as though your standing in a 150-person tribe depends on every interaction, every word choice, every stumble. Social anxiety, in its clinical form, is in part this system running at the wrong amplitude. Psychologist Lynn Alden's work on social anxiety and self-focused attention shows that people with high social anxiety spend an inordinate amount of cognitive resources monitoring their own performance mid-interaction, which paradoxically disrupts the very performance they're trying to protect. The mechanism that evolved to make you more socially attuned starts consuming so much processing power that it achieves the opposite. You become less present, less natural, less yourself, because the part of your brain that is watching you be yourself won't stop narrating. This is the strange double edge of embarrassability. The capacity that made your ancestors better group members, more trusted, more socially legible, can in the modern context become the source of significant suffering. Your brain did not evolve for a world of 8 billion strangers, performance reviews, social media, and public speaking. It evolved for a small, stable, tight-knit group where your reputation was a lifelong project and every social error had weight. Which is why the embarrassment hits so hard when it arrives. It's not proportionate to the modern stakes. It's proportionate to the ancient ones. Your face going red when you trip in a coffee shop is the same system that once kept you in good standing with the people you would need when the winter came. The system doesn't know the winter isn't coming. It doesn't know the strangers in the coffee shop aren't your tribe. What you feel in that moment is not weakness. It's not evidence of some personal deficiency. It's one of the most sophisticated social instruments the biological world has ever produced, doing exactly what it was built to do in a world it was never designed for. Next time your face goes red, you are not malfunctioning. You are demonstrating, without knowing it, the very cognitive capacity that separated your ancestors from every other creature on Earth. The ability to see yourself through another person's eyes, to care deeply about how you appear to others, to be, in the most literal, biological sense, a social animal who knows it is being watched. The last time it happened, your face went red. And in that flush, for just a moment, you were doing something no other animal on this planet has ever been capable of. You were seeing yourself.